blessing together, and then we're going to have story time. So please join with me. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kichanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat Omer. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who sanctifies us with commandments and commands us in the counting of the Omer. And we announce the day of the Omer, first in Hebrew, Hayom Av Arba'im Yom Shehem Shisha Shavuot Ushnei Yamim LaOmer. Today is 44 days, which corresponds to 6 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. All right. So I know that a lot of people have liked the stories, and since this is our final week, I think I'll probably end up doing at least 2 stories, probably 2. So we'll have a story tonight, and then I'll have a story later on this week. All right, so tonight's story is Worse and Worse on Noah's Ark, and this is by Leslie Kimmelman and illustrated by Vivian Miniker, and I got this from PJ Library. Love my PJ Library. All right. The weather in Noah's neighborhood was terrible. There were huge dark clouds overhead. There hadn't been sunshine in weeks. Noah tried to keep sunshiny inside. All in God's good time, he reminded himself. Then he heard from God personally. Noah, build an ark, God said. Build the most enormous ark you can. It seemed like an odd request, but when God spoke, Noah listened. So he built a gigantic ark. Noah's whole family helped. They worked side by side from morning till night. This ark is way too big for us, said Mrs. Noah. Why does it have to be so huge? Because God said so, Noah answered. Miss Sugar, Mrs. Noah rumbled, stopping to rest for a moment. Just plain foolish. Could things get any worse? Bet you know where this is going. Things got worse. The skies opened up. It rained all day, and the next day, and then the next. Noah kept building. His sons were wet and grumpy. Ugh, could things get any worse, they complained. Things got worse. It rained all week, and then the next week, worse and worse and worse. When the ark was finally finished, Noah invited some friends aboard, 2 by 2. Soon there wasn't an inch of space to spare. Welcome, said Noah. Wipe your feet, please, begged Mrs. Noah, and be careful with the claws. She swept up behind them. Oy vey, what a day, she fussed. Could things get any worse? What do you think? Things got worse. Before long, the ark was alone, tossed on an endless ocean. Still, the rain came down and down and down. On day 5, the animals got seasick. Here's those seasick animals. Feh, Noah's sons exclaimed, fetching mops and buckets. Could things get any worse? Things got worse. On day 12, the scarlet macaws and the peacocks made fun of the zebras and penguins, who were only black and white. We're all God's creatures, Noah reminded them. We're all equally beautiful in God's eyes. The lions and howler monkeys argued about who was loudest. Enough, said Noah. The sloths slept through everything. But Noah's family did not. Could things get any worse? They yelled over the commotion. Things got worse. On the 21st day, an armadillo broke its shell sliding from one side of the ark to the other. And on day 29, the skunks, terrified by thunder and lightning, made quite a stink. P.U., grumbled Noah's sons. Could things get any worse? Asked their wives. Things got worse. Food was running low. The grizzly bears licked their lips when the antelopes crossed their path. Ooh, the owls looked longingly at the mice. Worse and worse, kvetched Mrs. Noah, looking in the pantry for something, anything, to feed the passengers. On day 32, the ark sprang a leak. Water came in an inch at a time. The squirrels sneezed, the shrews shivered, the kangaroos coughed. Everyone was shouting, "What a hullabaloo! What a disaster!" "Here's a thought," said Noah calmly. "What if we work together to fix the leak?" Everyone stopped and stared. "That may be worth trying," Mrs. Noah finally said. One of the rhinos plugged up the hole with his horn. Meanwhile, the horses and cows fetched hay and the pigs brought mud. Mrs. Noah mixed everything together. The tigers patted the concoction in the hole with their huge paws, and the elephants vacuumed up the water. Before long, the ark was dry once more. "Good job, all," said Noah quietly. Then something surprising happened. Life on the ark began to change. It was still cramped and messy, and the weather was still terrible, but no one minded as much. They were looking after one another. When cabin fever broke out, the aardvarks organized a party. Everybody helped. When an especially large wave slammed the vessel, the animals tended to one another's bumps and bruises. There was so much harmony on board that Mrs. Noah started a choir. Some nearby humpback whales joined in. After 40 days, the rain slowed, then stopped. One afternoon, the ark finally came to a stop on the tip top of Mount Ararat. Noah sent out a dove to search for dry land, but the birds soon returned. There was nothing but water everywhere. "Just wait," said Noah, reassured the disappointed animals. "Things are bound to get better." Noah sent out the dove again. This time it did not return. It had found dry land. "At last," exclaimed Mrs. Noah, smiling. She opened the doors wide, and the animals left the ark as they had entered, two by two, leaping, running, bouncing, scampering, flying. Noah and Mrs. Noah and their family followed. The air outside was cool and fresh. The land was green and lush. The flood was over. "Could things get any better?" they asked, barked, roared, honked, purred, clucked, and chirped. Things got better. So I like this story. I thought it was cute. I mean, one possible moral of the story is just gotta wait for cabin fever to break out. Um, so I wonder if we've collectively reached a global cabin fever yet. Um, but also this idea of seeing the good when things feel like they're getting worse and worse and worse. Being able to remain calm and to find the good, and then focus on the good. Um, I think that's an important part of what Noah in this story offers. And that part of what made things better was, they were all at each other's throats and fighting. And then the thing that turned the tide was when they all started looking out for one another and working together collectively on a solution for the leak. And then that continued on to other things. And so I think we can take some ideas away from this, not just sort of individually seeking out the good, focusing on the positive, but also finding ways to come together with people that we might not necessarily normally see eye to eye with, or that we might have been arguing with over the last I don't know, 4 years or so, maybe more. And so anyway, that was worse and worse on Noah's Ark. Would love to hear what you think, and have a great